My name's Tanya. I'm one of the founders of Spice Up. We have another founder. Her name's Kim. She might be joining us today as well. So this is our first edition of Freshly Ground. We usually have in-person events where we host chefs, and actually Miguel, who's our chef today, was actually our very first chef for our in-person events. But due to coronavirus and social distancing, we've switched to online virtual sessions. So we chose the name Freshly Ground, like when you grind spices, for the most ideal cooking, you want to have fresh spices. So we're going to bring people fresh sessions every 2 weeks with another chef. We want to provide a way for people to still share cultures and recipes while we're at home. So we asked Miguel to share a recipe today that might be easy for everyone to make at home. So a little bit of a background for Spice Up, if you've never heard of us, which I actually think a lot of my family members are in here, so you've probably heard me talk about it. But so we formed last year in April of 2019 at Give Back Hack. It's a local hackathon in Columbus, Ohio for social enterprises. We placed as one of the top teams and have been continuing our work ever since. It was our 1-year anniversary last week. Both Kim and I are the daughter of immigrants. And so as first generation Americans, we felt that there was a lack of representation in the neighborhoods that we grew up in. And so we formed Spice Up to be able to give spotlight to different voices and cultures and backgrounds that don't usually get a spotlight. Specifically within the restaurant industry, I can speak for Columbus. There aren't a lot of restaurants that represent the different regional cuisines from India, specifically where my family's from. So I'm from Western India, and we eat Gujarati food, and there aren't any Gujarati restaurants in Columbus. But what you do have is a lot of North and South Indian food, and the problem is a lot of people think that makes up the majority of what Indian food is made up of. But through Spice Up, we're hoping that we can, educate people and show people there's much more to a country's food than just one region. So our mission is to facilitate opportunities that celebrate diversity and cross-cultural inclusion, and we're hoping to do so through these events and through storytelling. We want to bring people together to talk about topics like culture, and we think that food could be a great way for people to do so. Throughout these events, we hope people learn something new about the immigrant experience in the United States and learn about different cultures, cuisines, and the power of storytelling. So we do want to mention that this event is free, but we encourage everyone to donate to a new organization called We Feed CBUS. They actually formed around like March when people were starting to social distance due to the coronavirus. So they aim to provide restaurants affected by COVID-19 with the financial support needed to deliver safe, prepackaged meals to frontline workers and communities experiencing food insecurity. So you can donate through the link within the chat. So I'm going to give a quick overview of the agenda. Again, super casual. A lot of this is going to be a back and forth between me and Miguel, lots of questions. So we're going to next learn a little bit about Chef Miguel, what he does for his day job, what he describes as his culture, and then Miguel's going to walk us through a video of a dish called Pozole Verde, and his thanks to his fiance for creating the video that we're going to be showing during the session. All right, so Miguel, my first question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your culture, and what your day-to-day job is? You might be on mute. 1 second. Let me unmute you. Okay, I've unmuted you, Miguel, so you can answer.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Miguel Martinez. I'm a chef here in Columbus. I've been a chef throughout the industry for about 10 years. My family is actually from Texas. My grandfather came to this country from Tamaulipas, Mexico, just on the border of Brownsville, Texas. So it's a lot of business exchange between the two cities of Matamoros and Brownsville. And that's how we got here. My passion for food has come a long way. Like I said, I was in the industry for about 10 to 12 years now. And it's been a great community to be a part of. But since I've actually branched out, my day job is I'm a scientist at a pharmaceutical company. So it's essentially the same thing, right? Food is medicine, But yeah, I've really been inspired since a kid just by seeing my family cook different dishes from tamales to caldo de pollo, and just really enjoying all these flavors. Barbecue, um, also a world experience, but really popular in Mexico, really popular in Texas. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background. As far as my work in the industry, I've worked all throughout Columbus, um, and I've made a lot of friends along the way. So hello to everybody.
Awesome. So what inspired you to become a chef?
The inspiration, I would say more than anything, is just being around my family as a kid and being hungry and like being curious and wanting to know, what's in that pot, or want to know like, what are you cooking? Family gatherings, you have a lot of people coming together around food. That feeling of just being at home, that feeling of being accepted and at ease and nurtured. I think that's a beautiful thing, and food can really do that.
That's amazing. We believe that too. So let's talk about what you're going to be cooking today. So you're making
Sure.
Pozole Verde. So can you talk about what the dish is, and then also what might have inspired this dish?
Sure. Well, the dish, of course, is inspired by Mexican cuisine. In particular, it's a southern and a central type of stew. So pozole literally means, in the native tongue, it just essentially means treated corn. So what we mean by treated is corn that has been cooked in an alkaline solution, and it's been made alkaline by the stone pottery that was used to cook it in. So this dish is not only inspired by Mexico, but it's inspired by what's going on right now. It's extremely healthy. A lot of nutrients in this. We're talking about fresh greens, fresh herbs, concentrated flavors of dried herbs. We're also talking about high protein and fresh chicken broth, which is something that it's extremely good for your immune response, and especially if you have a virus. This dish is packed with zinc, and it's just very, very healthy for you. More than anything, this dish is super versatile. So I'm gonna show you a way to make it, but you don't necessarily have to stick to that plan. I know a lot of you might be vegetarians. I have a lot of friends that are vegetarians. This is so easily made vegetarian by substituting mushrooms for chicken and substituting mushroom broth for chicken broth. Simple as that. Everything else, that you see that you don't like, you can switch out. But sticking to that game plan, you're going to find something flavor-wise that's very, very authentic and really comforting.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see more of it in the video. So I think that's a nice segue. Miguel, go ahead if you want to share your screen, and we can walk through.
Sure, I would love to. All right, let me see. This is Pozole Verde. Shout out to my fiance Melky. She really hooked it up with this video footage. I'm going to try and share with you right now. So I just want to show you guys some of these ingredients. Is everyone able to see?
Yes, we can see
Beautiful. It. Okay. Should I make it full screen? Actually, it's fine. I can see all your reactions here too. So the ingredient list, if you notice, there's a lot of fresh ingredients here. We're dealing with a lot of veggies, and that's why this is such a versatile dish. For if you're, someone who eats meat or not. On the left side, you're going to see all the ingredients for the hot portion of the cooking process. So you can easily get a lot of these ingredients at a local grocery store. If they don't have it at like a Kroger or Publix, H-E-B, they'll most likely have it at an ethnic grocery store like, for Central American cuisine. You're going to find a lot of these ingredients are dried as well. And I'm going to show you a brand really quick, Costanita. This brand is really nice because they sell a ton Mexican traditional spices. So they're great prices, and they're very, very widely available throughout the US. So a lot of these ingredients that you see, you can actually buy if you can't find the grocery at a Mexican supermarket. and it's really, really simple. So yeah, let's get into the video. So these are the fresh veggies. Let me go back a bit. These veggies right here are going to be roasted. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them on a roasting rack. A roasting rack, if you don't have one, it's something that's honestly just for ease. It's optional. You don't need it. But what it does is it lifts the food off the pan, creates some dry air underneath, circulating, helps it cook very fast. And it also is really, really easy to get off the tray. So what we have here are fresh poblano chilies. These are essential in Mexican cuisine. They're not spicy. They're mild. I also included some jalapenos, which aren't that spicy either. They're more medium. You can also substitute, if you like spicy, the jalapenos for serrano chilies. Delicious. A little bit more heat though. These tomatillos also have been cleaned out of the husk and peeled off. So in the supermarket, you're going to see it all wrapped up. It's going to look like a lantern, like a Chinese lantern. And then when you take it apart, you're going to find that. So here's a rundown of some of the dried ingredients on the left. Some Mexican oregano, some spices, black pepper, a pinch of cumin, comino, zira, whatever you want to call it. Pumpkin seeds. We have green pumpkin seeds here. They're already taken out of the husk. They're shelled. And these are actually quite soft. You're also going to see some bay leaves or laurel leaves, some good salt, kosher salt, anything you have. Some dried herbs like avocado leaf and epazote. Those are really going to add some perfumes to the dish and also help everything go down really smoothly and nicely. You have just any onion you have around the cupboard, white onion, red onion's fine. A lot of garlic. We're talking about like 10 cloves. I love a lot of garlic, especially using it as a lot of people around the world use it as like a medicinal thing, not only as flavor. And then of course we're going to add some fresh cilantro, and not shown here, any store-bought spinach that you have is going to be good. So we're going to start it off. We're making something called sofrito here, right? It's going to be the base of the dish, the flavor builder. We're going to saute garlic. We're going to saute onion, spices in the beginning of this. And I'm using right here, it's an Instapot. If you've heard of that, a lot of people have now. It's essentially a pressure cooker. And this pressure cooker can be used also as a sauteing device, as a pan. So we're actually sauteing right here, right? So olive oil goes into the pan, or grapeseed oil. You can use coconut oil if you'd like, whatever healthy oil you have around the house. I'm just going to saute it on high heat. I put the whole garlic cloves in there because everything's going to come apart. So the onions chopped up and diced, kosher salt goes in, just mixing everything really nicely. I'm stewing it. I'm adding the pumpkin seeds. Everything is what they call sweating. Everything is sweating. So all the moisture is coming out and it's concentrating. That is a whole organic chicken. Any chicken's fine. I really like organic chicken because it's treated responsibly. And this is just maybe like 4 pounds, maybe 5 pounds. It fits in an Instapot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add dried herbs to this, and then I'm going to seal the lid, and I'm going to let it cook for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour under the meat option. And I just want to add that you can do this in any normal pan. It just takes all day. So this is something that's going to be like for someone who's busy, or someone who has a lot going on, or someone that really can't take a lot of time out to watch this pot all day. And if you have any questions about this technology, just let me know. This is just fresh chicken stock that I made. I made this stock last week and then prepped this a few days later. And it's just extra flavor. You can use water as well. So this is pozole. This is the star of the dish. This is something that is really like an ancient technique. May have happened by accident. It may have happened by just higher knowledge of food that a lot of Europeans didn't have at the time. But what this is it's corn that was grown throughout Mesoamerica, dent corn. So dent corn in this particular style is a little bit more starchy. It has some firmness. It's not sweet like up in the north, up in the Midwest. The Ohio sweet corn we have here is completely different. So you wouldn't be able to make it with that. What you could do is you could buy the dried corn and you could boil it in an alkaline solution using calcium hydroxide, which is limestone, and water. So these two coming together, they're going to raise the pH into an alkaline phase, and it's really going to release some of the nutrients within the corn, and this is going to add something that's really irreplaceable as far as health goes. Believe me, they tried this in Europe. They had a pellagra outbreak a long time ago. So you really need to do this process if you're going to have a staple ingredient like this, and try to eating it every day. So this is basically the same process, but I just bought it literally, use it from a can. A lot of people do this. It's really, really fast. Oh, okay, so here we go. These are the roasted vegetables. Earlier we had them fresh on a tray. You put them in the oven on a broiler on a very high temperature. You can do 550. You can do 400. But the goal here is to kiss the skin. The skin is going to be just slightly caramelized, almost to a charred point, and that's going to add a lot of flavor. It's going to impart a lot of flavor into the stew. So you want to put those and let them steam in a pot. So I got there's a normal pot here with a lid. I'm going to throw them in that pot. They're going to steam for like 10 minutes. When they cool down, after 10-15 minutes, you can take the stems out. And this is just a textural thing. We don't want to put that in the soup. We don't want someone to have to eat that. A lot of cellulose, a lot of fiber. So we're just taking out that. And some of the seeds will come out. Not a big deal. It still have plenty of flavor. And then here, I have a blender. I'm just going to put everything in the blender, puree it. And this is really something that's going to become like a salsa verde. If you ever had green salsa, this is how you make it. So you're going to take those ingredients, jalapenos or serranos, fresh herbs, and then you're going to add the chiles that have been, roasted with the tomatillos, and everything's going to become essentially a sauce. And that's like another flavor builder for this stew. So we're putting it directly over the chicken. The chicken only was cooked for 30 minutes in the Instapot here. It's still firm. It's cooked all the way through. What we're going to do additionally is stew it for another hour so that it falls apart. You could skip that step completely and just cook it in the Instapot for 1 full hour. So it's up to you. Here's some of the jus or the chicken broth and all the spices. I took out the dried spice. I didn't want that to be a texture thing. Now I'm adding fresh spices, some spinach. I really wanted this to be, like I said, medicinal. So I added a ton of spinach. And this is something that after all the flavors that we've built come into play and mix, just blend really well, almost like an Italian wedding soup. We have some fresh garnishments here. So Mexican food, as you've noticed, is all about garnishing, right? We have like salsitas, we have fresh herbs, we have radishes, we have all these things to add to the food to help give it some texture, to help give it some flavor, and really to make it more beautiful, right? So we have cabbage here. It's green cabbage. You can buy this anywhere. It's really just like not the Napa, but just the normal green. Has some nice texture. It's dense, and I'm gonna essentially slice it. I hope you guys have heard of this Japanese mandolin. It's essentially just made for slicing. You can also use it to julienne a product as well. So I'm just going to show you here. See that? It's just very fine. It's very fine. It saves you time. Just wash your fingers, obviously. You don't want anything bad to happen. That's all you want to do there for the garnish. And then I have a green radish. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this product. It's flavor-wise very similar to red radishes. It just has a different color. And Traditionally, this stew is going to have red radishes as a garnish, but I decided to mix it up, put some green radish in there as well. You can buy these at a local grocery store, like Saraga in Columbus. And then, of course, cilantro adds so much flavor. It's one of my favorite herbs. I'm just going to just roughly chop it. It doesn't have to be fancy. You just want to really give it some pop and some extra flavor. And we have, of course, limes. And forgive the quality of this knife. It is not sharp. So I'm struggling through these limes right now. But yeah, you just want to take out the center. It's going to help you juice the lime a lot more quickly, and it's less messy. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm just taking out the center. There you go. Yeah, so there's just some garnishes. And I'll also add a more traditional garnish than the green radish. This is the red radish. And I love it because it's such a contrast, right? You have all the green and then you have a little bit of pink there. And this presentation is very rustic. It's something literally that it's homemade food. It's essential, right? It's essential food. It's something that will give you a lot of energy, something that will give you a lot of comfort. So I'm just literally just ladling in a bowl, and I'm gonna throw some garnishes on top. And we're gonna make sure that we serve it with something crunchy, because I think something crunchy with something wet is a beautiful combination. I think, chips and salsa, same concept, right? Pani puri, same concept. It could literally be, any culture has this combination. It's just really nice. So these are called tostadas. And what these are dehydrated tortillas. So it's as simple as that. If you have tortillas that are growing a little bit on the aged end, just throw them in the oven on a low temperature or fry them, and you have this. So there you go. Very simple dish. You can make it home. If you use an Instapot, it's very, very quick. And of course, you want to garnish it with Mexican oregano. I just want to take a moment to speak a little bit about this because it's completely different than Mediterranean oregano. It has a lot of complexity that the Mediterranean oregano lacks. It has a lot of brighter notes that the Mediterranean oregano lacks. This is going to be something like, if you can imagine, if you could cross thyme, cross Mediterranean oregano and cilantro together, it's going to be something like that, flavor-wise. And it's really, really nice. Traditionally, you want to garnish it with this dried Mexican oregano. So there you have it. And go into Tanya for some questions.
Awesome. Yeah, that looks so good. Thank you so much for sharing. I didn't have dinner yet, and I'm so hungry.
I've been eating it all winter. It's great.
Good. Looks like we have one question.
I have a quick question. It looks like, so what we have is a Mexican oregano, and epazote is another herb that we had in there, and then avocado leaf. Epazote. Okay. So this is maybe the scientist side of me coming out a little bit, but if you've ever been sort of like introduced to something called a hydrocarbon, it has a very strong volatile oil in it that perfumes throughout the stew. So you're going to have something that is indescribable until you just smell it for yourself. And epazote can be bought dried, and it's great. And if you're a vegetarian, it's really good in lentils. It's really good in beans. It's really good in soup. But it acts as not only a perfume and a flavor, but it acts also as a digestif and really helps everything settle. And this is a beautiful herb. You can also buy it fresh at La Michoacana. They usually have it. They don't keep a lot on stock, but it's a beautiful ingredient for sure. Okay, any other questions?
I have one question.
Especially about the technical part of things. I don't know. I went too fast.
I was going to ask if you're in Columbus, where can you go get these ingredients?
I love to buy most of my ingredients at La Michoacana. Also, Saraga grocery store. If you're into, discovering different culture, I mean, everything from, Japanese, Korean, Arab, Far Eastern seafoods, Mexican meats and produce, Nepalese ingredients that I don't even know about yet. This is a huge grocery store called Saraga, and it is available on Morse Road. And it is an adventure. You could go there on a date if you wanted to. It is like just so exciting. They have restaurants inside if you want to grab a bite to eat. They have cooking supplies, humongous produce selection, beautiful counter for halal meat, beautiful counter for Mexican meat, beautiful counter for just fresh fish, seafood. It's really wonderful. Huge dry selection as well. And they separate everything by culture. So you have different countries for different aisles. If you've been to Cincinnati, Jungle Gems, it's similar to that, but a little bit more, I don't know, I want to just say like a little bit more humble, I guess. But yeah, it's a great grocery store. Also on the west side, if you're out west instead of north, La Plaza Tapatia, it's a great grocery store. It's behind Westland Mall, and it's just wonderful. They have everything there. Beautiful Mexican cheeses. If you like, like cotija, if you like panela, queso Oaxaca, everything that you want as far as cheese, it's there. And they have a really nice fruit selection if you like fresh fruit. Ripe mangoes, ripe pineapple. It's really, really flavorful stuff. And then out east, there's another Michoacana in Whitehall. I used to go to that one when I lived out there. So yeah, you have a lot of options no matter what part of town you're in. And I'm hoping no matter what city you're in at this point, you can buy really nice Central American food. So.
Looks like we have a question from the group chat. So someone asked, for the vegetarian alternative, what variety of mushrooms would you recommend? And what other substitutes would work well?
What variety of, what was it? Sorry, what variety of what?
Mushrooms for the vegetarian alternative.
Yeah, okay, so right now, sorry, I should have mentioned this earlier. We're at right here in the north right now, because I live in Columbus, Ohio now. And this is a beautiful area right now, seasonally, for mushrooms. You have the dampness of the fall, right? The rain's falling. And then you have like the warm sort of, spring and summer vibes that are coming in. And it's creating this environment that's sort of ripe for mushrooms. So right now, it's a highly sought after mushroom. It's called morels. Morel mushroom is beautiful. It's meaty. You can cook this with butter, ghee. You can cook this with olive oil, salt and pepper, and it's fine. It is delicious just like that. But I've tried it with pozole last year. We got some foraged mushrooms, made a really beautiful pozole with that, and it was delicious. We used mushroom stock instead of chicken stock. And, those fresh mushrooms just added that meaty texture that you want, that firmness that contrasts everything else. And it was just delicious. You could also try some Eastern stuff like beach mushrooms, some other foraged mushrooms, hen of the woods. You could do oyster mushrooms. Really, I would encourage people to make it an experience, to research where they can forage for these local mushrooms instead of having to buy them, right? But yeah, I would definitely go with mushrooms and then also some starchy veg if you're looking to add some more complexity to it.
Awesome. One more question, it seems. So.
Oh yeah, Nancy, that's a great question because I didn't mention it and I really should have. So you know how we were talking about the process of cooking and transforming, right, the basic corn to something that's more digestible, something that has more nutrients, and something that is texturally different. During that process, you don't want to necessarily take in that alkaline solution, right? the pH is relatively high, and it has a bitter flavor. So if you were to eat a little bit of it, I'm sure it wouldn't be a huge deal. You know, it's going into the soup. It's going to dilute. The issue with it is it's going to add this flavor that you do not want. I do not encourage you to use hominy out of the can without thoroughly rinsing it. Rinse it just like you would rinse rice. Just give it a good rinse over and over. Toss it a few times, rinse it again, and you're good. You're good to use that. Not only for canned hominy, but after you create this hominy, if you were to make it at home, the same process. Just rinse it really well.
Awesome. Nice. Thanks for all of that, those tips, Miguel. I'm a vegetarian too, so I am definitely going to try those out.
Awesome. Oh, Nancy's second part of the question, I forgot. The blender. So, yeah, so everything that went in the blender was during the pressure cooking process, and, you know, we put the lid on a lot of ingredients, right? Those ingredients were, you know, onion, the garlic, the herbs, pepitas, the oil that has been created. So what we did was we took out the ingredients that had bad texture. The laurel leaves or bay leaves, we took those out. You don't want to puree that unless it's dried and you pulverize it to the point where it's a powder. So we took those out. We took the hoja aguacate, avocado leaves, those came out. We took out the epazote stems, okay? Because those were dried and the texture is a little bit too much. So those three ingredients were out of that solution, and now what we're left with was chicken stock, the schmaltz, right, the chicken fat, and then we're left with the pumpkin seeds, onions, garlics, black pepper, a little bit of cumin, a pinch, and that's just getting broken down to something that gets distributed flavor-wise, and then also is really easy to eat as a stew.
Awesome. We're going to move on to our next section, but people can still add questions to the chat. We'll get to those in between interview questions. So a part of Spice Up's mission, again, is to focus on culture and how that can sometimes relate to the immigrant experience. So I'd like to take some time to ask Miguel some questions about his Mexican roots. So Miguel, can you tell us a little bit about your grandfather's story and his immigration experience?
Yeah, I'd love to. So my grandfather, he made it here across, you know, Tamaulipas. Matamoros is a city in Tamaulipas. So Matamoros and Brownsville, they share literally a border. When you're in downtown cities, you can see, you know, you can see one another. And it's a story where a lot of people, they will go live in Matamoros, and then they make a lot of money in the United States. So they'll travel from Matamoros just for a day to the United States, and they'll work. And then they'll go back after that, you know, they'll go back. You know, this is like a daily process. There's a lot of business exchange between the two cities. So that was, my grandfather was a baby, born from someone who was actually basically like a maid. So the maid would go back and forth and ended up actually joining a family, so to speak, that way. So just the idea of me being here is beautiful. But yeah, he ended up getting citizenship. He was in the army, and that was his way forward. So he served in Vietnam. He was a Vietnam veteran. The army took care of him after, and he got a Bachelor of Science. You know, very smart guy, but also very tough, man. He was one of those Golden Glove boxers in the army. And he really instilled a lot of discipline into my father, and that has been passed on to me. So taking things like education serious, taking things like, you know, your faith serious, and always working. You know, it's honestly at this point, I feel like I identify most strongly with that cultural appeal of being Chicano, is like to be a provider and to work and to really support family and to build family and to bring people together in the family. So food is a way to do that. My family has always been creators who've always been creating different dishes and enjoying them during a barbecue or during a party. So yeah, that's my grandfather's story.
Thanks for sharing more about his
Yeah.
story. So when we talked before this event, you mentioned that a lot of your favorite memories about your culture involved food. So if you could tell us a couple stories about some stories about food and how that relates to your culture.
Yeah. So one of the fondest memories I have is being a little kid and being around the family during the holidays, and making tamales. So if you ever made tamales, it's like extremely laborious, right? Experience. You have a lot of prep work. But when you have a family to do it together, it's not that bad. It actually goes by pretty quick and it's pretty fun. So when I was a kid, my father introduced us to these beautiful tamales. So if you don't know about tamales yet, those are essentially like a whipped fat that is emulsified into basically masa, which is like a corn and water dough. And that dough whips into the fat, creating this fluffy, light, airy texture. Those get wrapped in usually beans or squash, fruit, or meat, and then they get steamed, almost like a dumpling, like an Eastern dumpling, and they puff up after a while. And then that's really what creates that light, airy texture. And right out of the hoja, or the corn husk, or the banana leaf, that's where you will eat it. So you can use that as a plate, or you can, just discard it, whatever. But traditionally, this is something, after making it and enjoying it all these years and years, I started to look more into it. And it's a Mesoamerican dish, and it's always been around. It's pre-Hispanic, right? So this is something that people in America were creating before the Europeans were even here. So it's a very old dish, a very old technique. And I've learned to appreciate it a little bit more after learning a little bit more about it. Those memories, just, family being together, cooking, I love that. I love that.
What are some other things that you share with other people in regards to Mexican culture? I know we talked about a couple things beforehand, like family is a big deal within Mexican culture. So can you talk a little bit about what are your favorite things about Mexican culture and what do you like to share with other people?
Definitely. So I'm a hobbyist. I do a lot of different things, not just, I'm not in the sciences and the food necessarily just that. I love sports, and I love, community and faith, and, being a part of the music scene and playing music with people. So I would say if any of you have ever been to any part of Mexico, you'll see a lot of live music, a lot of performing people, right? Even in the States, sometimes you'll see, maybe if you go to like a restaurant, you'll see some people performing. But I play the guitar. I love that. I'm kind of obsessed with Mexican music as far as the guitar goes. My favorite right now is Natalia Lafourcade, beautiful singer, and the music that is being developed behind her voice is something that's amazing. So I would definitely check her out. But so not only music and food, obviously we love food, but just being around family, going to church together, whatever you might do, going out in nature, having a barbecue, at a park, just enjoying time with friends and staying in touch and always connecting over these similar things. I haven't really got into a whole lot of fashion, but the last time I was in Oaxaca, I kind of got inspired by some of the indigenous clothes that a lot of people from Oaxaca are wearing, and I think it's just a beautiful thing. And honestly, I don't know any designers that are really pushing for that, but I would encourage that. I think there are a lot of interesting looks that could be built on and inspired by fashion and throughout Mexico. But yeah, I just love Mexican culture. When I think about Mexican culture in my mind, I immediately am returning to this beautiful city called Guanajuato. And if you can close your eyes and you can just imagine just looking out from the steps of a church into the city, and all you see in the distance are just colors, like these beautiful colors, like purples, oranges, yellows, white stucco, blue homes. Like I wish that the U.S. would get more creative with the decor, right? I don't know if the homeowners associations would appreciate that, but that's something that to me, not only is it food and music, but it's color and it's family, and it's sharing, right? And always helping one another. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that, and about being Chicano in America, where there are less of us, right? So I think maybe we want to cling on to that a little bit more. Maybe sometimes we can be a little extra. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your trip to Mexico? Because I know we were talking about the different cooking techniques that you learned, the different food.
Okay, yeah. Well, on technique, there are a couple that stand out that I was really, really shook by. When I would wake up, I remember one time I was in this little colonial town called San Miguel. And in San Miguel, they have these beautiful terrazas, basically like patios in the air. And they turn into rooftops real quick. I know in India, you guys have those where you can go on the roof and you can just look up at the stars. It's very similar. But I just remember distinctly this amazing smell that was coming out of the local market that was across from the terraza. I was having my cafecito. I was enjoying it. Beautiful, sunny outside. Just great. So I went down. I had to discover what is that. And they had these barbacoa de borrego. It was being slowly cooked in banana leaf, and the smell was just like permeating the market. So we found it really easily. There's a whole bunch of people that were like flocked to this one area, just big line trying to get this one dish. And it was just tacos, but it was tacos at like 9 a.m. So it was a little bit much, but it was so good. And if you follow me on Instagram, there's a beautiful picture of that. It's just barbacoa fresh like that is just amazing. Some other techniques, not only just barbecue like that, but grilling, right? People in America, they love to grill. Right now, if you walked outside, you could probably smell charcoal. Someone's probably grilling something. In Oaxaca, this is way south, way down there. It's a town that is known for really good food and preserving indigenous culture. So the Zapotec people are still alive and well, and you can see that in, like I said, the fashion. You can see that in the cuisine. And I remember my friend Ruby, she was excited to take us to eat breakfast. Another breakfast spot. I love breakfast, but again, this is next level breakfast. This is not. I love Waffle House, but this is not Waffle House. But we go into this little. It's like a little home essentially, and they have a comalito. So comal is another ancient pottery that has been preserved thousands of years ago. It was created, and we have this in the anthropological record. It's something that is just so simple. It's clay, and it's been spun until it's flat. And this earthenware gets torched on a fire. So you have this fire going on the bottom, and it's sizzling everything, and it's creating essentially what they call in America a plancha, or a flat top grill. So the ladies were making big tortillas, like tortillas así grande, right? It's like humongous, like bigger than your head, and they're being filled with delicious cheeses and fresh squash blossoms, flor de calabaza. So these bright colors are being Just they're jumping out of the tortilla against the white cheese, right? Just these oranges and greens. And then they're putting a little bit of cilantro, and they're putting a little bit of this new mole, right? I've never heard of it before. Mole amarillo. So in this land of the seven moles, there's one that's yellow, and it's called mole amarillo. And it had a very distinct savory flavor, and that was an experience that, when you smell the wood burning and you taste the freshness of the ingredients, that I knew what I wanted for my future, not only to build outside, again, if it's okay with the homeowners, but also to have at a restaurant. I don't know if that's okay, if that's code, but I would love to do that in the future.
Wow. I want to as well. If not, I'll come over and we'll cook together.
And we'll cook.
Oh, nice. Someone said that they had some of the best food in Oaxaca City. And she still dreams about a mole.
She said still get dreams. Okay, yeah. Okay, so what she's talking about when we talked about the mole amarillo, they're better known for, internationally for this one type of mole called mole negro. And it's black, and it's made from, do you remember the process that I showed you guys earlier when we charred the chili and it became black? It was black as night. And you want to do that to the chiles in a process of preserving it, right? Let's say you make an abundance. Let's say you have a garden this year. You have way too many jalapenos. You have way too many poblanos. What are you going to do with them? Throw them away? No, you can't throw them away. You can't freeze all of them. Obviously, it's just too many. So they preserve them through smoke, through drying. And these moles are actually fortified fresh chilies and then also dried chilies together. Pureeing, mole is like grinding, molada, like a grinding process that covers tortillas or covers, in this case, tamales. So that ground sauce is just completely covering and flavoring those tamales. In Oaxaca, they're known for the banana leaf tamal. So that tamal is going to be wrapped real nicely in a green banana leaf. And they're going to put herbs in there, avocado leaf, which we had in this dish as well. If you end up buying them, you're going to notice that they have some similarities, some molecular similarity with tarragon, and with chervil, and with licorice. But it's very subtle. You're not going to get like, oh, that's licorice. You're going to smell it and you're like, what is that? And you're going to think really hard, and you're going to be in the shower and you're going to be trying to figure out what that was, and then it's going to come to you and you're like, that's where that's from. So yeah, those tamales taste like very, very delicious, and they're so fresh. And you can get them, like Marsha's saying, you can get them in El Centro, in the big town. You can get them in, the little cities, in the little towns. So yeah, definitely something that I would go for if you're traveling there. It's worth it.
So, second round for questions. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and put them in the group chat. Good question. Are there any restaurants in Columbus where you can find good mole?
Oh man. Okay. I don't want to say no. I just don't know of many. So I do know, I want to give a shout out to Grow Restaurants, the owners of Cosecha Cocina. So this is a restaurant that's made from Anglo people, that is made from, funded by American people, but it has the heart of Mexican cuisine there, because almost the whole staff is Mexican. And the initial chef there, Chef Silas, he did a great job at listening. When he said, Hugo, make me a mole, or Felix, make me rice. It was a project that together was created to highlight different regions of Mexico. So, if Hugo's making mole and he's from Oaxaca, right, then you're going to get something that's really similar We can't get all the ingredients here. You might be able to get there. They won't necessarily always be right. So think about, I would encourage you to travel to Mexico and experience the difference in flavor due to, the lack of corporate interruption. I don't want to get on a tangent about that, but you have, small farmers producing good products, and then they're serving them to people. So that's a different thing. But also the season, we don't have 70, 80-degree weather in Columbus all the time, right? So we're going to have more challenges with that. So you might not be able to produce something like a Mexican sauce year round. It might be difficult. It might not be the same. So I would encourage you to travel, experiencing the difference. But also, I would say give Cosecha a shot. If you want to try a good mole, go to Cosecha. They do a good job. If you want to try a good mole, also contact me. I can get you in touch with some of my friends. I have a friend, Gemma Cruz. She makes delicious mole negro, and her mole is super nice because she's from Oaxaca. Her family's from Oaxaca. Her roots are there, and she understands the nuances, and she delivers a good product. She serves it with white rice and chicken and mushrooms, and it's amazing. It's so simple, but it hits you, and you're like, this is perfect simplicity. I have another friend named Jorge. He's also from Oaxaca. Again, we're referencing this area because this is where moles are from. But he does a great job, So if he has a house party and you're really interested, maybe one of these days I can bring you over, and maybe if he's cooking, I don't know. Maybe Jorge, please. I don't know. I'm sure Mr. Mateos would mind. But yeah, I would say reach out to people who are from different regions. Get to know immigrants in your city. Have a cultural exchange, and really learn. And then, you'll be able to understand some of the differences between local Mexican restaurants here, where those people are from, and how the food tastes. And it'll be very satisfying, I think, for everybody.
Awesome. I just have one more question before we close it out, if everyone's okay with going over a couple minutes. But for our events, for Spice Up events, we like to have a call to action, something that we can all do tomorrow that we can help, ways that we can help our communities. And me and Miguel talked a little bit about what we wanted to discuss, how we can all help our community. We talked about how the coronavirus is really affecting undocumented workers who work in kitchens across the United States. So Miguel, if you want to talk a little bit about that topic and how we can support them.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's important to talk about this because you don't ever hear about it in the news. And there are people. Everyone now. Everyone is affected right now, and everyone matters. There are some people that are hurting a little bit more than others, and those people largely are undocumented. They're not getting any assistance from the government because they don't have papers. They may not know or understand what resources they have available to get help. And, even if there are resources, there aren't very many to go around. So reach out to people that you know in the restaurant industry. You can help by giving, a direct gift to them, taking personal responsibility over someone else and saying, hey, I can help. I'm able to help you. Let me make you something. Or, or do you have anything else going on? Are you selling anything on the side? I know my friend Felipe, he does a side gig where he's selling piso, which is like a dance floor, that you use to party at, like, weddings, quinceañeras, different events, different parties. It lights up. It's really fun. But he sells it on the side. So, if there's a way that they can make money not in the kitchen because of restaurants being closed largely, help as much as you can. There are different websites going around that you can give virtual tips to cooks, chefs, servers, bartenders to help them along the way. maybe you go to a restaurant all the time. Say you love tacos from Los Guachos. Go to Los Guachos, ask them if there's any way you can help, if you're able to. You know what I mean? Is there any way I can help, your people? It could be something as simple as buying them a round of beer. It could be as simple as, Venmoing them some money, or cash apping them some money, or, just letting them know that you're there if they need anything. So there are a lot of people, not only undocumented people, but just people in general right now that could really use that. So just reach out to people in the service industry, let them know you're there, let them know you appreciate the hard work they've been doing throughout the year, and that you apologize that they have to go through this right now. No one asked for this, but it's something that we have to do to keep everyone safe. So I think it's important that the least we do is just reach out. And I think that's honestly enough, just reaching out. So, there are also a ton of petitions. I forgot. If you're a restaurant owner, or a restaurant owner, you've probably seen these petitions that we're trying to get signed to get some federal assistance to small businesses that need it. Right now, as it stands, they are forcing you to choose between your livelihood and your savings, and then taking out a federal loan that may or may not be repaid. There's no guarantees here, so they may ask you to do that to keep your restaurant afloat, but it might not be the best choice. So if you see a petition going around, be sure to support that. If you see a GoFundMe, be sure to support that if you can.
Yeah, if anyone has anything, any resources where people can donate, please feel free to share. But otherwise, we can also email everyone after this with different resources we find. But we're going to wrap up now. Thank you so much, Miguel. We really appreciate you coming and speaking with us today, bringing it full circle.
Thank you, everybody.
At our first Freshly Ground event and our first Spice Up event. So very thankful for you.
Thank you.
So we have a couple of outros for Spice Up. We want to also thank Melky for creating the video today that we all watched. We'll also be posting that, and we'll also be sending an ingredients list out so that everyone can follow it at home. So our other call to action is to donate to We Feed CBUS. Again, this was a free event, but we have been working with We Feed CBUS. My other co-founder, Kim, is actually helping to help manage that project. And I've put the link within the chat that you can find. Even if you can just donate $5, that will support a local restaurant by provide a meal to a frontline worker during this time. So again, link is in the comments. Feel free to follow Miguel and Spice Up. Share if you'd like to about this event. We always read everything that people post, so feel free to do that. And then last thing, be on the lookout for our next event. So we're gonna have another Freshly Ground event in 2 weeks from now. We already have a chef lined up and we'll be posting about that soon. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. If no one has any other questions, feel free to leave, but thank you.